Okay, NATO keeps bombing Zlitan. There's no military installations there. Perhaps you'll verify if it indeed is just simply a war crime. And the disappearing children from Misrata is it verifiable? Do you believe the story?
Well, that they disappeared, it's clear, and that their place is empty. But where they went, to my knowledge, nobody is absolutely sure. There's lots of rumors, but to substantiate something is rather different, as you know, and that's why it's important that people outside of Libya petition their governments in the UN and outfits like Save the Children to go in there. They have access to Benghazi. We don't over here, and find out exactly what happened. The word is getting out now, and I expect that something will materialize on that subject at any time.
And somehow you think the truth will come out of Benghazi rather than Misrata itself?
Well, it's linked. As you know, the nerve center is still in Benghazi, but sure, they know what happened. That's true.
What, the TNC, the rebel council?
Yeah, sure.
They know what happened, and they're not telling the world. They're keeping it a secret.
As of now, they haven't. They've just made the accusation earlier that, in fact, the children are over here, which they are not, by all research. And there's several groups here looking for them, and I think if they were here, they would have been discovered, because some of the people on this side are their relatives.
That's in Tripoli. So that's 105 children, I think, that went missing as the rebels took over. It seems that there were quite a few atrocities in Misrata. Have you heard of that, apart from these missing children?
Well, sure. Again, proof is the thing, but the internet's filling up with videos and so many reports here about the attacks on blacks, the attacks on women, the shooting of soldiers, the mutilation by Al-Qaeda type Salafist affiliated groups. Plenty, even on the internet, of really graphic, difficult to watch videos. Again, the key is the context of each one of those, being able to say beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are what they are represented to be. But the balance of opinion over here, and you're a better judge than I am of what's going around the internet, is that there are some serious problems, and I think that's been acknowledged by the American government, and I know the United Nations is concerned about it, and NATO. If you look at their website, I think they're defensive about that. The Americans, as you know, said that this shakeup, which is a near collapse of the NTC, is actually healthy because they're going to get new blood in there and they're going to show transparency. The U.S. has no option at the moment, nor does NATO, than to put the best face on the NTC, the so-called rebels and their leadership. And that's why we see today Britain joining in the chorus, Italy and France saying, oh, this shakeup is good. Well, we'll see
but
what it means. But it's apparent that the tribe, the Abdel Fattah Yunus tribe, which is the third largest in Libya, demanded a complete shakeup. And I'm not sure if they're satisfied yet that there's justice. So I don't think maybe we haven't heard the end of that of that situation.
As far as Yunus's tribe goes, I thought they now show allegiance to the government without question. And you're painting like NATO and the UN as honest brokers, but in fact they seem to be committing war crimes on a continuous basis. The fact that they're bombing Zlitan itself when there's no military installations there seems undefensible.
Well, yeah, and they're certainly on the defensive. The village is, I was there, 6 miles south of Zlitan. It's called Mazar. In fact, one of the reasons I have to dash is I'm sending, I've got a meeting, checking a few facts on that. I'm going to send out a report to Counterpunch. I'll make sure you get a copy on that massacre. we've got more evidence that has been put in the public domain so far, and we're going to present it. So that's one of the reasons I'm kind of dashing. But yeah, it's NATO's got a problem. It looks like they may have committed a Kana type massacre, and we'll have to see what the international reaction is to that. Of course, so far NATO has only said they have no knowledge, but their standards are high and they bend over backward to protect civilians and to make sure there's no casualties. But tomorrow, I suspect, if not later today, they will announce, just as the Israelis habitually do in these massacres, oh, we'll have an internal investigation. That's what I predict will be the next step. But as far as the population and I think the journalists, even the mainstream journalists who were there a couple of days ago, became convinced that there's every evidence that these people were civilians and no evidence that there was military installation there. So we'll have to see how this plays out, and if NATO is able to convince the growing skeptics that that in fact it was collateral damage and unintended, rather than it was a part of a continuing effort to break the civilian population from the government. That's about their only option now. If you believe in West Libya, that NATO will not come and put their boots on the ground, it's apparent that what they're doing is clearing the path with American weapons in their use so that the rebels can do the dirty work and show up here in Tripoli within the next week or 10 days. Of course, that'll be a slaughter. So that's, I think, where we're headed, and there's more pressure, I would think, mounting, although there's so many other news stories, aren't there, that are pulling away from the focus that maybe we here are too much focused on. But the big question here today, I think, is what will Russia do next month at the Security Council? Will they put an end to this travesty? Will they veto the extension, or will they abstain, as Brazil and others who are here protesting? The reason I mentioned Brazil, a Brazilian delegation came here this morning. We'll see. I think that's a very important coming diplomatic forum that may have a major impact. Cynics say, one way or another, empires don't lose. They may collapse over time internally, but that NATO will do what's necessary and find the excuses necessary to continue this aggression, and increasingly, Morris, it becomes an attack on the civilian population because they can't win it militarily. If they get lucky and kill Gaddafi, that may end it. But assuming that he's as secure as Hassan Nasrallah, who's also constantly being hunted in Libya, Lebanon, if they don't get him, they've got to break the population and cause major dysfunction and a rebellion here in the center, which is Tripoli.
It doesn't look. It doesn't. I mean, I've been.
How that plays out, but I think in the next 3 weeks we're going to know a lot more.
Well, Franklin, thank you for your time. I could talk forever, but you're a busy man, and I hope to talk to you again soon.